What's up, everyone? Jason here again. I know you're probably asking, dude, do you ever shave? Yes, I do. We try to do videos back to back to get them all taken care of when we have time. I do work. I am a family man, so I do try to do videos whenever I can. So if you haven't seen the new videos yet on the Shocker RSX shooting and the Pooty paintball bolt for the axe or the Shocker itself, definitely I recommend watching them. Today we're actually going to be doing the maintenance video on the Shocker bolt. The only reason we're going to do the bolt today is due to the fact that the regulator I want to save a whole nother video for, because I want to really go in depth with the regulator. So let's go ahead and bring the camera down. So here's the Shocker RSX. Woohoo! Let's go ahead and get the bolt out, shall we? So of course in the very back of the marker you have the button, and bam! Okay, so let's put the marker to the side. Make sure nothing happens to it. And you have the bolt and the guide and the whole shebang. Now with the marker you do get the factory lubricant, which reminds me identically, hint hint, of Smart Parts Sleek, which is a good lube. If you don't have this, or if you have another kind you prefer to use, I prefer to actually use Pooty's Magic Lube. I use this on my Lux, and it actually makes my Lux shoot a little smoother. So we're going to be using this lubricant today. So the first thing I have to recommend is whenever you do any kind of lubing on your marker, first thing, always put it on a towel, because this stuff can get pretty slimy at times. The other thing, have a microfiber, a soft microfiber, on hand to wipe off the lubricant. So let's go ahead and dive on in, and we'll pinpoint every one of the O-rings. In this video, of course, we're going to be using a little Allen to point everything out. So let's go ahead and take this apart. As you can see, it unscrews. The bolt just pops right out. And to get off the back, just begin to turn. We're going to completely take this thing apart. So we do the whole maintenance on it. Okay. Once your bolt is in pieces, I always recommend either starting from the back and working forward, or starting from the front and working your way back. So in this case, we're going to start off with the bolt and move everything off to the side. Now the reason I always recommend a soft micro is so that when you are cleaning off the excess lubricant, or the old lube, or you want to put a fresh batch on, make sure you have a soft micro, not a rough one. A rough one can actually begin to damage the O-rings or even damage the actual bolt itself. So make sure that's nice and polished. Okay, once we're good, now everything's nice and clean, you can move on to the next piece. Now the only reason we're not taking off each individual O-ring is because this marker is brand new, so we know the O-rings are good. If you ever want to completely remove all the O-rings, I recommend a spring hook. They work amazing to get these off, or a bent bobby pin. So that's nice and clean. We'll move on to the cap. So the same thing, we want to make sure everything's nice and clean, get all the excess lube off, turn it a few times. Now I do know that in the video we did introducing it, we did miss one other O-ring. There is actually an O-ring right in here in the cam. So that was my mistake. I do apologize. So same thing. Wrap the micro around your pinky and get in there. If you have big pinkies, you can always use a little bit bigger of an Allen, and it will work as well for you. Okay, so same thing. Once we got that nice and clean, we're going to put that off to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and move to the actual back. So same thing. Take the Allen, or not the Allen. Take the micro, clean off all the excess lube, make sure it's nice and, shiny and there's no lube on it. Just taking a look in the back. Okay, so once that's in, now don't forget there is one more right here. So we want to make sure that is nice and clean. So same thing, you can take an Allen and just wiggle it around in there. Okay. This, you do not have to lube any of these components. So that's the only reason why we haven't cleaned them. So we'll start with the bolt now. Now every single person has their favorite lube or their own way of lubing their markers. It's all about preference. What I like to do is take a little bit of lube on my finger move it in between, and actually begin to turn the component while moving my fingers. This is just how I've done it forever since I've been playing paintball. This is my preference. You don't have to do it this way. Okay, same thing. Now, you do have 2 O-rings right here on the back, which works for the back of the marker to seal and to cushion, which, as like we said in the introduction video, you have a cushion right there, so you definitely do not want to lose that. So same thing, wrap it on your fingers and just begin to spin. Now, this is a habit. I like to lube everything when I'm doing the bolt itself, just to make sure. So, and voila, that is nice and lubed. As you can see, you don't need a lot, you just need enough. That's why I do recommend Pooty Paintball's Magic Lube V2, only because you don't need a lot of it. So same thing, we'll move on now to the cam. Same thing. Mix it between your fingers and begin to just lube. Now, usually with the leftovers, you should have enough to get the hidden one. You don't need to over lube a bolt. Just to let you know, you just want a thin haze of lubricant on it. Some people will say, oh no, you need to over lube it. Oh no, you need to put more. It all depends on the lube you use. If you're using a really good lubricant, you don't need a lot. So make sure that you get all the O-rings and the hidden one inside. So same thing. Go ahead and get the back. Seal right here. Get the one in the middle. And the one right here. Now at this point, there's 2 ways you can lube that inner one. You can try to get your fingers in there, or take the bolt, put a little bit of excess right here, right behind the 3rd O-ring, and put the bolt in. And just start moving it back and forth. That will lube up this section. And not only that, it will also begin to lube the inner part of the back bolt. So same thing. Once you do it, just kind of move it around so that you don't get big globs of lube on anything. Okay, so believe it or not, now at this point, you just want to make sure, like we just mentioned, you don't have any big blobs of lube anywhere. So once you're done, you can actually begin to put the marker right back together. I'm not sorry, not the marker, the bolt assembly. Sorry about that. Okay, of course I gotta wipe my hands off for this, because like in the introduction video, my hands were lubed up and I couldn't put this on correctly. So I don't want to make that same mistake. Now I put this piece back on, hold it, make sure it's lined up, push, and begin to do about 2 solid turns, and it should not come off. Now you can tighten it by hand, or there you go. Now you want to make sure, as you notice, you only have you could probably only about get your pinky in there. You don't want to have that too loose. If you have it too loose, it's not going to work properly. So definitely remember that. The final thing that I always like to do with all my markers is take a little bit of lube, a little bit more, and put it right on the bolt, and then actually begin to move the bolt myself. This is just something I prefer to do. You don't have to, but what it does is make sure you're not missing any hidden O-rings inside of the cam. So believe it or not, that is it. We are done. It is a very simple bolt to maintain, very simple to open up and lube. So definitely, if you're looking into getting the shocker, I do recommend paintballrevolution.com. Definitely take a look and call them before you order, just in case, to make sure they have it in stock. And if you're on the market for any good lubricant, I recommend Pooty Paintball's Magic Lube with a unicorn on it. It is very good lube. You don't need a lot, and it lasts a long time. So let's go ahead and put this bolt right back in the shocker. And there we go. We are done. So thank you very much for watching. This is Jason with the shocker bolt maintenance video.